Hi guys, I forgot to record the meeting last night, so I'm going to go ahead and run through the PowerPoint again in this recording. So we're going to be talking about our Unit 4 assignment, which is International Communication, where we focus on communication and writing cross-culturally. The whole idea behind this unit is to teach you to look before you leap, meaning that you need to investigate what's normal in places that you haven't been before and places where you plan on going. As you can see in the picture, the guy here obviously didn't spend any time figuring out what to expect when he got where he was going, and he'll be in for an unpleasant surprise. I like to start this unit out by sharing some interesting facts about different countries. As you know, if you've looked over the unit, your assignment is to pick a country and then educate a group of employees about the different business cultural norms in that country. So I'm going to share, as I said, a couple of interesting facts from a variety of countries that would be along the right lines or the same lines as the type of information that you'll need to share in your presentation. So first and foremost, the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, they don't beat around the bush in order to convey anything. They are very direct and they get right to the point. A quote from a Dutch business person is no hard feelings, but that's how it works here, and that's a whole lot better than being superficial. So you don't want to dress anything up or deliver bad news, in a soft type of way. You just want to get right to the point whenever you are doing any type of business in the Netherlands. In Indonesia, you would not use your left hand to eat or shake hands. And obviously, in a business situation, you're definitely going to be doing some handshaking, and it's very possible that you'll be going out for business lunches and business dinners. So you want to remember not to use that left hand. Here's why. That's because it's considered the toilet hand, or the hand that toilet activities are done with in Indonesia. In Russia, you would not give an even number of flowers as a gift. And as many of you will discover in the countries that you choose, giving a gift to your host is pretty common, but you do have to explore what is and is not an appropriate gift. So in Russia, an odd number of flowers is what you would give if the recipient is alive, and an even number of flowers is what you would give for a funeral. You also do not wish someone a happy birthday or a happy anniversary or a happy anything before the day. We do tend to do that a lot here in the United States. We'll say, oh, happy early birthday, or have a great birthday next Friday. But there's a superstition in Russia that if you get a wish before the actual day, you might die before the birthday or anniversary occurs. And let's take a look at Singapore. At Singapore, you would not want to take a seat at a table if you see a packet of tissue paper there. And that's similar to what we do with a purse or umbrella, or even by hanging a coat over the back of a chair to indicate that that's our spot. Well, in Singapore, they intentionally carry packets of tissue and they use those to indicate where their spot at the table is. All right, so jumping into your actual assignment. You are going to develop a video tutorial or a screencast, and you're going to use PowerPoint as a visual tool. You will educate a group of employees about how to communicate with a different culture of your choosing. And you can choose any country except for China. I rule China out because it's just too easy to do the assignment if you choose China, because we started doing business with China several decades ago, and that has just been exhaustively covered and studied, and it's just really, like I said, too simple and easy of an assignment if you choose China. I want you to have to dig at least a little bit. The research requirement for this assignment is to have 3 different sources. Here's a couple of details about the case. You can read the case in more detail within Canvas. But as you'll see, this is a 6-week project for the employees that you are educating about the country that you choose. In weeks 1 and 2 and in weeks 5 and 6, they're going to be communicating on the phone and via email. So in weeks 3 and 4, that's when this group of employees will be traveling internationally and visiting the country. So they're going to need to know how to communicate in written communication, verbally and over the phone in oral communication, and then body language is also important. So make sure that you cover all 3 of those aspects. You can cover a pretty broad variety of things that isn't listed here, such as I mentioned, giving gifts, how to behave the etiquette when doing a business lunch or a business breakfast, how to respond if someone does invite them out for a social evening. They might not, it might be considered rude for them to say no, but your employees might need to know that it's not appropriate for them to stay out after a certain hour or to be unaccompanied if they are a female or something like that. So you will want to go pretty broad when you're researching business norms in the culture that you select. Remember that in this assignment, you're actually taking on the role of a teacher. So you're creating this video for the group of employees in order to teach them about another culture. So make sure that you consider your rhetorical situation as the writer-teacher in this particular assignment, and think about these elements of the rhetorical situation that we talked about back in the beginning of the semester. This is my suggested approach to going through and doing this assignment. I would spend the first chunk of time, because you've got 3 weeks, so I guess I would spend the first week choosing your country, researching and gathering information that's going to be relevant to the assignment, and then organizing that information on PowerPoint slides. And I would probably just, be throwing bullet points on PowerPoint slides initially, just to get the organization and ordering of ideas down. Then I would go ahead and write my script slide by slide. So you will be turning in your actual written script as well as your video that you're going to record your PowerPoint. I'll talk about that in a second. And then I would work on designing and polishing up the slides so that they looked really great and had animation. Then I would record the presentation and my narration, which is reading of your script, using Camtasia. And Camtasia is a video editing software tool that you can download for a free 30-day trial. And you need to wait to do that until, I can't recall the date off the top of my head, but you need to wait. Don't do that right away, because you're going to need that tool in Unit 5. And like I said, you only have 30 days where it's free. It's a really easy tool to use, even if you've never done video recording or video editing before. I'm going to teach you how to work with Camtasia next week on Monday at 10 a.m. So it's kind of a bonus meeting. And the last thing I would do would be to actually edit the video and add any effects that I wanted to add as needed. This next slide, I just am going to give you a brief run through of an example of what your PowerPoint might look like. Just one slide of your PowerPoint, I suppose. And I'll narrate a little bit here at the beginning too, just so you can get an idea of what your presentation should look like. So, understanding our new business partners. As you guys know, you're going to be traveling over to China next week to meet with our new business counterparts, and it's very important that you understand how our cultures are different so that we don't offend anyone at the company. So first and foremost, you can see over on the left, in the United States, individualism is really that's how we function here in the US. People earn raises on their own. They are praised for accomplishing something on their own. And really it's kind of how everything functions. Everything's a race and everyone wants to get first place. In China, it's completely the opposite. There's a group collective mentality, which means that no one tries to get acknowledged for something that they tried to do independently or on their own. They would actually be very embarrassed to be called out and praised on their own. They much prefer to work as a group and to take responsibility and take credit as a group. So you don't want to call people out and give them praise individually when you are in China. Another important difference between the US and China is that we are really casual here in the United States, both in terms of the way that we now dress. Our business casual is sometimes jeans and a jacket. That would never happen in China. They are formal almost to a fault, wearing suits and ties, and especially with their language, they are very formal. So make sure that you turn up your formalness and your professionalism up to the very highest degree and keep it there the whole time that you are in China. Even when you might be, let's say, on a break from an actual business discussion, you're just having a casual lunch, you still want to maintain that sense of formality. Another important difference is that in the US, we're very proud and boastful, whereas in China, people are very humble. So if you have something to brag about, don't brag about it to our Chinese counterparts. They will not find it impressive. They will find it a big turnoff, actually. So you want to avoid doing that. All right, so I'm not going to run through the rest of these, but I wanted to give you guys just that little bit of example of how your presentation might come through. You don't have to do a side-by-side comparison of the US and your country, although I do think it's a helpful starting point. But these are the types of cultural differences that you can look at beyond written and oral communication and body language. And of course, I've got some movement and animation on my slide. Which brings us to this slide. Just a reminder from our last meeting, when you are designing your PowerPoint, make sure that it's visually interesting, that it has movements so that it is visually interesting and engaging, and make sure it's not crammed with text and bullet points. And finally, make sure that it's supporting and not replacing your verbal presentation. So something I mentioned during the meeting last night, and I want to mention again here, is that I was really, really impressed with your guys' PowerPoints last week. I think in all the time I've been teaching this particular course of professional writing, this was by far and beyond the best group of PowerPoints that I've seen. So really great work, really impressive. If I had one critique to give, it would be that a number of you guys did actually read off of your PowerPoint slides. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. You will have seen that you're still probably earned an A on your presentation, even if you did read off of your PowerPoint slide directly. However, I want you to make an improvement this time around and not read literally verbatim off of your PowerPoint slide. So a way around that essentially is just to rephrase what's on your slide. So that would be like this. Instead of going, what does a well-designed PowerPoint slide look like? It is visually interesting. It has movement, right? We're not gonna do that. Instead, we're going to do this. So let's talk a little bit about how to make sure that your PowerPoint slides are really well designed. Right, so I just kind of rephrased what this actually says, or I'm talking about what the point on the slide actually is. And then as other points come up, again, I won't read them. I'll say, well, this one's so simple. Make sure it's visually interesting. Don't forget about movement. You want to add animations, and that is going to help keep your audience engaged. Make sure to not overdo it when it comes to bullet points. So you see, I'm talking about the text rather than reading the text. And it's a subtle difference, but it will take your presentation skills up a notch. A quick note about research. You should be verbally citing your sources for this presentation. And if you look at the discussion board, there is a post that will teach you how to do that. You can let me know if you have questions. And I had written to include a slide with correctly formatted APA entries, but I changed that to this. So the third item here at the bottom, list of sources, APA format. I don't want you to include a slide because I don't want a slide of references to be part of your video recording, because that would not be professional, nor would it ever be included in a real tutorial. So when you submit this assignment, you're going to be submitting a Word document or a PDF that includes a YouTube link that you're going to make with Camtasia and your written script, as well as a list of sources that will be in your APA format. Your due date is April the 4th, so we've got 3 weeks in this unit. And don't forget to attend next week's meeting on Monday at 10 a.m. where I'm going to cover Camtasia. I'm calling this a required meeting, but I'm not going to require summaries if you can't come. And I'm not going to actually award any points for it. So you do need to come unless you are really great at video editing already and you already know Camtasia or you have a different program that you want to use. You need to come to the meeting. Otherwise, your work is probably going to suffer for it. Because Camtasia is easy to use, but without a crash course, you will probably struggle, and we have a lot of time, but not the kind of time you need to get familiar with a program like that on your own. And that is all. That concludes the Unit 4 presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to email. Thanks for watching, guys.